The Mendon-Honeoye Falls-Lima Sentinel welcomes you to this edition of the Mayors and Supervisors Weekly Update, brought to you by...
Each week, our community makes history. Each week, you make history. And each week, there's only one source to turn to for the first take on history. You know what that is? Subscribe to the Sentinel right now to discover the history being made in your own backyard.
The Mendon-Honeoye Falls-Lima Sentinel. More than just your news, it's your history.
Welcome, everyone, to this week's Mayors and Supervisors Update. I'm Chris Carosa, publisher of the Mendon-Honeoye Falls-Lima Sentinel, and each week we bring you the goings-on in the towns and villages that we cover. This week, we're going to be starting with Tim Schiefen in West Bloomfield. Tim, you're there with somebody. Why don't you introduce that person and give us your report?
Thanks, Chris. It's great to be here as always. And yes, I would like to introduce Christy Mulhern. She's our newest town board member. And I'm going to just let my hair down. Sorry, Christy. Christy's she's got a lot of energy. She digs into stuff. She brings a lot of information to the board, and she shares a lot of thoughts and opinions. And she's a go-getter. And she's got full license to chime in and talk. And if I forget to say something, she's welcome to jump in here. I kind of wanted to get her in and talk about some things and give her the full immersion of what goes on and how we can reach our constituents and talk about what's coming up, some answers to questions that are posed to us at the town board meeting, and some general information. So with that, again, I'm going to let Chrissy jump in whenever she wants to, and we've kind of organized our thoughts here. So our first thing on our thoughts is our most recent town board meeting. We had a public hearing. Much like Rick talked about, I think last time or time before, we had to talk about raising that tax cap. And nobody wants higher taxes. We truly don't want to raise the tax cap. But that public hearing is a situation that's mandatory on our part to let people know that this is something we have to consider when these costs soar and the needs outweigh the finances. And our tax levy just doesn't cut it anymore. And, that's a deeper issue we'll get into later about budgeting and planning and spending and reining into control and stuff like that. So we did vote to raise the tax cap or go over the tax cap if necessary. And we're going to review our budget process moving forward. And then we'll determine if that's necessary or not. And we might hit that topic again and explain that maybe we don't need to do that. That's really our desire. That's the message I want everybody to understand out there. Let's take a second step here. I'm going to send my apologies to the village of Honeoye Falls and our downstream members there in Rush for that awful amount of water that came from, I'm going to blame it on Richmond. That's where it came from. But it did come through West Bloomfield, and it went to Rick, and it went to Lee, and I'm sorry. But we got 4 inches of rain, and the news reported we had 10 times the normal flow of Honeoye Creek, and it wreaked havoc on our community. In addition to the spillways and the feeders to Honeoye Creek, it took out some of our local stuff, and I'm going to turn it over to Christy because we both got phone calls that morning, and I got a phone call from the highway superintendent. Yeah, I was still in my pajamas getting ready to get in the shower and learned that we had quite some damage. So, Christy, why don't you tell the audience what you saw?
Sure. There were a couple areas of concern. One of them was Factory Hollow Road. I spoke to the resident there and I spoke to the property owners across the street. The amount of water that came down and hit that culvert overwhelmed the culvert, came over the road and did a lot of damage on one of the property owner's sides. So we went out and surveyed that. Jeff was out there too. Another issue was Baker Road. Baker Road has been closed and opened a few times as they repaired some major damage that came down. They washed out full driveways, and our highway departments really worked overtime to repair those quickly and get them up and running. And then another spot I saw was on Wesley Road, where the culverts, I came right at the perfect time where I could really see the culverts malfunctioning, how the water level rose right up over, and as soon as they raise over that level of that pipe, the water just starts to back up and go over. And I'm hopeful that a lot of those areas are going to get covered. We have a grant right now to do a study on those culverts, and then there will be an additional grant application to make a lot of repairs. So we're really hoping that a lot of those areas will be covered in that grant, and Jeff's working, our highway supervisor supervisors working overtime to look at those issues and try to get them covered.
And I'm going to chime in because I got to give kudos to our highway employees. We got 4 really hardworking highway employees, and these guys are amazing. They know how to run all the equipment. They know what to do. They work as a team. If you could have been there and seen how efficiently they got business back to normal. So we had traffic traveling these roads. We eliminated the blockage in the culverts. We cleared the roadways. And, I don't know if our residents appreciate those folks enough. And I try to buy them donuts once in a while. I owe them some. So if they're out there listening to this or they watch it on Sunday, yeah, I owe you some donuts. And those come out of my pocket. They don't come out of the town funds. Let's have some bright stuff here. We got a couple of families here in town that have bought a weeping cherry tree, and they would like to have it planted here at the town hall. And that's in memory of a young lady named Maura Soretti, who was a member of our community for a period of time. And Maura dealt with some issues, and unfortunately, Maura passed away back in 2022. So the Rivers family and the Gelfell family got together, and they've purchased this beautiful ornamental tree, and they're going to have it planted here at our town hall on April 22nd, which is Earth Day. So what a fitting day and time. And we're hopeful that this tree is going to really grow into a beautiful aspect of our community here. It's adjacent to our town park. It's right out in front of the town hall. And if you've ever seen one of these weeping cherry trees, they're just beautiful to look at. And this is the time of year where it really puts some happiness in our step, and it's going to make our community a little brighter. So now we're going to shift gears again and talk about public comment time. And I'm going to give Christy some liberties on this because she's put some effort forth to try to help us get some policy on this and have a better understanding of what the constituents are able to talk about and how that works. So with that,
Sure.
It's all yours.
So it might not be a surprise to some of the other towns that there are public comment time policies, but our town didn't have one. And so we realized quickly that we have a large group of people that we want to hear from in the town, and we want to have their input, but we needed to have some guidelines and make sure it was happening in an appropriate way. So we just put in some basic things where it's the 3 minutes per person time frame, that there'll be a maximum time of 30 minutes. Unless we have some kind of big issue, we have the liberty to extend it. And we just wanted to remind people that public comment time is designed for people to come and give input to the board, so that when we make decisions, we do know things that the residents are wanting us to know and have desires about. It is not necessarily designed for a time where you get to come in and ask us questions and we will answer on the spot. And basically our policy is that make your statement about your issue so that we are aware of it and we know it. We may not be able to do anything about it right away, but we will take it into consideration. All of our board members value this process and welcome it. But it is not designed for you to get an answer that night. And there are many reasons for that. Some of them are that there are budget concerns. Some of them are that the public meetings are not designed for us to be making quick off-the-cuff decisions, because there are a lot of things that are affected: budget, legal issues, the opinions of the various board members, other people that need to be involved. So it's not designed for a Q&A session. It's designed for you to give us your input that we take in so that we may use that when we make decisions or enact policies.
Very well stated. And I'm going to tell the constituents out there that this is the answer time. We do get your comments. We will bring them to the show here. We'll consider some of those questions, and you'll get some of those answers right here from me or a board member that I might invite to come in with me. Next month, I'm going to ask my highway superintendent to hang out here, and we'll answer some questions that way. And we're going to move on to one of those questions right now. There was a question brought forth about some signage. We've got a family that moved into town recently that are from a Mennonite sect, and it's a big family. I believe they have 9 kids, and they've bought a nice old farmhouse, a real well-kept piece of property. And there was some comment and some questions on whether we should put some caution signs up because they travel with a horse and a buggy. So we did look into that. The highway superintendent looked into it. We looked at the signs and the cost. We went out and thought about where we place these signs. And there was 3 of us on the conversation. It was myself, the town clerk, and the highway superintendent. And those questions came up. How much does it cost? Are we obligated to do this? My understanding is there is no mandate from the state that we do these. There is no regulation that we have to comply. And if we do something like this, it's more or less out of the goodness of our heart or out of the consideration to the community. And after some careful consideration, we think we might be better served with just some caution signs that say slow moving vehicles. Not necessarily the horse and buggy sign, but we've got all kinds of traffic on these roads. We got farm traffic, we got heavy machinery traffic, we've got roadside equipment, garbage trucks, and some of these roads are windy and some of them have dips. And while we do feel we have a responsibility to our residents, is it right to spend all this money for one family, or is it better that we consider a better method and a better signage that's going to appeal, not only be safe, but it's going to cover those aspects that I just mentioned with different types of traffic. So that's something that's going through the decision process right now. And unfortunately, we don't feel it's something that the highway superintendent could choose all by himself. And he didn't feel comfortable making that decision by himself. And it's back to that budget. Do we have the money? Do we have money set aside for that purpose? Is there room in his budget already for the purchase of those specific signs? So those are the details we really have to hammer out and we have to answer before we take action. And that's why this process is slow. So no, shut the rumor mill down, folks. This wasn't a veto. There wasn't somebody got in trouble. There wasn't a change of heart. This is a process that's unfolding. This is the process that we follow, and there's been consideration by all three of our elected officials with this, myself, the town clerk, and the highway superintendent, and we're going to turn it over to the board. And the board is going to mull it over, and we're going to talk about it, and then we're going to find the proper answer, and we're going to address it, and we're going to move forward. So there's going to be a revisit on that. Okay, we're going to try to wrap this up and get to you other folks. I'm sorry for all the time. At public comment time, we had all these requests from our constituents. In addition to some complaints about our assessment and how high the taxes are, we also got requests to add all kinds of extra features to our town and extra services and take on some extra expenditures. Christy, why don't you mention a couple of them and I'll fill in the blanks when you're done.
Sure. There were a lot of things that were brought up. The possibility of doing a brush pickup was one of them. There have been some requests about some audio visual equipment, microphones, audio. I spoke to someone who was talking about doing a better job when we have PowerPoint presentations and making sure our speaker or our projector is mounted. What were some of the other ones? There were some cemetery maintenance ones that comes in a little bit of a different category. But all these things, draining our fields for the use of the town, those are all wonderful requests, but they're all complicated and we need to work inside of our budget. And some of these things are things that when budget time comes up, we'll be putting them on the list to look at whether we can afford them. But every one of those requests, everyone's like, it's not that much money. But when you add it up, it is. And we are working with a small town, small budget. So we have to be stewards of that financial responsibility. And that's what we're trying to do. So it's simply, I would love to put in a great audio visual system and get us mic'd up and be ready to go. But there's a cost. And do we have it right now? Not really.
Not sure on that
Not
one.
sure. But we take it seriously and it's on our minds and we're trying to figure some things out and we're working on it. But we are balancing. We don't want to raise taxes, but there were a lot of things that were asked about. So.
And there were some things that are budgeted. Some of the cemetery expenses were considered in the last budget cycle, and some monies were dedicated and promised to the cemeteries for certain things. And that money is in the budget, and that money is available. And we will address those things that have already been approved and addressed. And we will send some disbursements out to the cemetery associations because we have committed to that, and we have the money, and we will obligate those funds. So one of the last things I'm going to do today is I'm going to give a shout out to my good old friend, Jason Kubicki in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, who's going to watch this show. And I hope you catch the shout out, Jason. Good friend. I miss you. Why'd you move away, you scoundrel? Sorry, guys. It's back to you. Thank you, Christy, for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Good to see you. Thanks, Chris. Here you go, Rick.
Thanks,
See you,
Terry.
Lee.
Christy. All right, so let's go over to Lee. Lee, how's everything in Rush going?
Well, everything's getting better day by day. Thank you. Rush also experienced the worst flooding that I've seen since 1978. The town hall property itself became a pond and river of about 40% of the town property. But we're doing okay. I've completed my first 100 days as Rush Town Supervisor. It's been a great privilege to serve, but it's certainly one of the most challenging jobs I've ever had. I am committed to moving forward to right-size Rush and help reduce the cost of local government. While we protect our open space and remaining farmlands and find new ways to support seniors who want to continue to live in Rush but are finding it difficult because of increasing costs. Rush has been my home for the past 48 years, and I am committed to providing the leadership to make these improvements. But I must say, I could never have anticipated how mean and divisive local party politics would continue to be. That being said, we have much to celebrate in Rush today. The town board approved the town engineer to do the elevations and the study of the town properties. With this report, we will be able to apply for FEMA and obtain flood insurance to our town hall, pavilion, library, and soon to be completed historic center. This new center is being renovated by the Rush Historical Society with a grant from the New York State Council on the Arts. The next good news is that our annual 15 Days of Spring is now on the way until August 25th. The event is sponsored by the Rush Recreation and Parks Association, a group of dedicated volunteers who are committed to safeguarding and protecting our parks and open spaces. The event is supported by our highway department that will start the annual brush pickup on April 20th during this 2-week event. Residents are encouraged to get outside and work together in their neighborhoods to celebrate spring, clean up the yards and neighborhoods, and join our residents to cleaning up the hamlet on Saturday, April 25th from 10:30 to 12 noon. This will also be tree planting on the day to celebrate Arbor Day. All residents are welcome to join in. And last but of good news, we have filled the vacancy of our bookkeeper and financial assistant. I have a strong candidate to fill the animal control officer's vacancy also. There's also was a mix-up on our newsletter. We were under the understanding that it had been mailed, but it had not, but it is in the mail now. April 22nd at 7:15, a public hearing on a dog ordinance. We are looking at the codes of the Rush 2030 codes, and it's taking us time, but that's something that we have to make changes on and make sure that all of the codes are updated. There's a lot of concern. There has been some complaints already about what will happen with our codes on dog safety in the town. But hopefully, as was stated earlier on this show, public hearings are for the town board to listen to the public, their concerns, in making our decisions as to the codes going forward. I'm also looking for a building inspector. Unfortunately, the town building inspector chose to go and work at another town. So that opening is available in the town of Rush. So that's pretty much what I have to say at this point.
All right, thanks, Lee. It's over to Rick. Rick in Honeoye Falls, what's happening there?
Hey, Chris, thanks for having us as always. And again, Christy, welcome. It's nice to have you on board. Welcome to the town of West Bloomfield. Hey, so I'm going to start a little bit quickly with Monroe County next week. So the week of the 13th is National Telecommunications Week. I will be very happily attending a ceremony at the 911 Center where we will be celebrating our 911 dispatchers and having some awards presented to some of those dispatchers who have hit special milestones within their employment. So I'm looking forward to that. Also coming up in April on the 23rd, which is a Thursday, are the Monroe County Youth Awards held at Monroe Community College. We do have some local Honeoye Falls-Lima School District kids that will be receiving awards. Certainly a couple from, Henrietta and Parrenton and Pittsford, other areas that I serve as county legislator as well. And I know Livingston County and I'm sure Ontario County as well have the same kind of awards at similar times. So I would imagine they're going to be coming up as well. But we're looking forward to that. I also have an office hour scheduled. I do these every other month for the legislature. This coming Thursday, April 16th, I will be doing an office hour at the Henrietta Town Library. I look forward to people coming and visiting and talking about county issues, etc. I've done this in all the other areas that I represent as well over the months. And I'm going to move on to Village of Honeoye Falls now. This past week, we just had our village annual meeting. We did approve our annual budget. That was a public hearing. We appreciate those that attended. Our 26-27 budget is in with a flat tax rate. Like Tim was talking about, we did first have a public hearing to rescind local law number 1, which was the tax cap point. We did not need to exceed the tax cap, so we had to remove that law. After that, we then moved on to the annual budget meeting that was approved. Our tax rate for the 3rd year in a row will remain flat, which we're very pleased with. The annual meeting then followed, and in the annual meeting, we then had 4 employees that we honored. Both Carrie Hoffman, our village clerk, and Melissa Luft, our deputy clerk, have been with us 10 years, so we celebrated that. Eric Walker, who is our highway DPW lead, has been with us 20 years. We celebrated that. And Todd Marble, who is our lead at the wastewater treatment plant, has now finished or is finishing 25 years. So we appreciate all those members that have done just such a great job for the village over the years. And it's great to have them on board. Coming up in the village, we'll be showing or providing our Good Vibes concert series schedule that will be coming out very soon. Those concerts start in June and go through August every Tuesday from 6 to 8 at Harry Allen Park. April 25th, a couple of Saturdays from now, April 25th, we will be celebrating Environmental Day with a big event at Harry Allen Park. It's always a great time. If the weather is bad, we'll move up to the community center, and we appreciate the town in supporting us with that. But we hope to be at Harry Allen Park, and there's also going to be an event at the Mendon Public Library that the county is putting on that has to do with recycling, et cetera. I saw that the other day. So a lot of things happening on the 25th. And we're still working on our plans for the festival at the Falls, which is scheduled for August 15th. So more to follow on that. And officially, brush pickup starts May 1st throughout the village. But as the weather is now turning, we're getting the trucks all turned over from winter to spring. We will be starting brush pickup immediately as the weather permits. So we appreciate that. And Chris, thanks again for the opportunity to be on.
All right. Thanks, Rick. And now it's over to Joe in the town of Mendon. Joe, what's moving in Mendon?
Hi there. Well, another busy week here at Town Hall. The past week, we completed our transition to our new payroll provider, Complete Payroll. This transition was requiring lots and lots of effort from everybody here to make the transition go off without a hitch, and it has in fact done that. Everyone's been paid or will be paid today. And so that went off really well, and really glad and appreciative of the hard work that the staff here did to make that happen. On Tuesday, I had a discussion on intersection safety, specifically Stony Lonesome, with a local resident who works in engineering and has a background in traffic safety. He and I discussed the positives and negatives for each plan that we have brainstormed in terms of solving the Stony Lonesome issue. Now, last fall, our highway department did get permission to go there and clear a lot of brush out of that intersection. And they did that, and that has resulted in some improvement in that area. The visibility is drastically improved, so we're really grateful for that. There are some next steps coming up. I intend to write the state DOT and involve our state assembly rep, Jen Lunsford, to see where we can get some help to fund the plan. Which basically it looks like the best plan is going to be to close the east side of Stony Lonesome Road. That was the plan that the last administration came up with. I wanted to look into that further and see if there were any other alternatives to consider, and there were, and we did consider them. And even though it's not decided by the board yet as to how we're going to go forward, it's starting to look like that is in fact the best plan. And so there'll be more to come on that as the board discusses it. On Wednesday, I met with our library director, Lila Grills, to talk about some of the new developments in the village and how that may affect the library. And we've been working with the mayor and the village board, and they've been extremely considerate to the library in terms of some of the changes and design of new things that are happening in the village there. So we're really appreciative of that. I don't anticipate any problems going forward with any changes that are happening in the village. And so appreciate working with Rick and company. On Wednesday, I met with our town engineer to discuss grant opportunities regarding flood and drainage issues. I have learned over the last 6 months, even prior to coming into office here, about flooding and drainage issues in the town of Mendon. And there are problematic areas that have been that way for a long time. And so we're looking right now at grants to study these areas and see if we can come up with a mitigation plan and maybe be able to go forward and get some work done. Most of these roads, I hate to keep saying it, but most of these roads are state highways that we don't have a lot of say-so in, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't be speaking up and doing everything we possibly can to try to make things better, in the hamlet and on Route 64 and down on Plains Road and Junction Road. There's several that come to mind right off the bat. And anyway, I want to continue looking at getting some relief in some of those areas for us. And finally, the town board meets Monday, April 13th, and the Environmental Conservation Board meets Tuesday, the 14th. Planning Board will meet Wednesday, the 15th, if they have necessary business. And all these meetings are open to the public, and residents are encouraged to attend. I encourage you to go to our website, townofmendonnewyork.gov, for more information. You can get all the meeting information right there. And meetings are always held here at Town Hall on West Main Street, right next to the raging waterfall. So that's all I have for this week.
All right. Thanks, Joe. Anybody else have anything? Seeing nothing. Thank you all for being here. And
what color shirt we wearing next time?
We're not. Well, that's right. Everyone's wearing black today, except me and Rick. But anyways, now you got me off my script there. All right. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Remember, this program airs every Sunday at 1 p.m. on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Like the page or subscribe to the channel, and those platforms will notify you when the show begins. Otherwise, you can read the transcript in next week's paper. That's all for now. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Imagine yourself communicating with a difference. Pan-Dimensional Solutions helps you do this. Whether live spectator events, taped broadcasts, or real-time audience-engaging programs, you can benefit immediately from the tools Pan-Dimensional Solutions will share with you. Do you want to make a difference? Contact us at pandimensional.com.